Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is where you are at. This is Plot Twist Please. I'm Shemaya. It's like papaya, except it's not. Sorry, my voice is a little quieter today. My roommates are sleeping, so I'm trying to be a little quieter. Hope this is recorded well enough for you to be able to understand what I'm actually saying. But welcome back. We've been apart for a while. Things have been really crazy. I've been really busy. The world's been really crazy, so getting on top of editing and recording episodes has been a struggle. But I'm back, I'm here, and you're here. There's so much that has been on my mind, and I've got so many fresh episodes ready for y'all. So I'm really excited for you to be able to listen and watch and learn and grow, hopefully. The first thing I want to talk about is I'm sorry that this whole time I haven't been looking you in the eye. That's low-key an autism thing. I really haven't been looking you in the eye, but I promise from this point forward, we will be communicating like this. New election, new me. There's a lot that I want to talk about in terms of what just went down this past weekend. If you could take a look at my Instagram profile, at the Plot Twist Please Instagram, not my main Instagram. I put an IGTV episode up there about my reaction to the Biden-Harris win and my unexpected emotional responses. I was really emotional for both of their speeches. I didn't think I would be because like the establishment, we understand that the presidency is a system in itself that is ripe with white supremacy and oppression, and to be able to climb to that level of power, you do have to step on some heads in this kind of system. You do have to sacrifice some of your moral compass, and that's just the reality of it. Is as a politician, that's something that you have to do, and I'm finding that it's really not beneficial for us to put our faith in politicians generally, for being our moral compass, because they have to do some dirty things to get to where they are. And like no matter who they are, they've had to do something dirty, or even they've had to turn a blind eye away from something that was problematic or that was oppressive, and they've had to do that. I'm just like, billionaires have had to sacrifice some communities. They have had not sacrifice. They have had to step on the heads and on the backs of communities to get to where they are, because to rise to that level of power, people do have to suffer. Not saying that it is a necessary evil, but I'm saying that the reality of the situation is we cannot put our trust in politicians themselves. We have to do the work to uproot a system that requires politicians to be corrupt, and that calls for corruption, because it's the only way to get to the top. That's the only way to be able to have power to wield. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. We have experienced so many emotions lately. In the past 4 years, in the past 4 days, we've been anxious, we've been angry, we've been disheartened, we've been disappointed, not restful for a really long time. And now we finally get to be hopeful. I think people underestimate how powerful hope is. I wrote a blog post a while ago, a couple of years ago, after my mom passed away. If you don't know, my mom passed away when I was 21. Yeah. And something that these sirens are coming for me today. I don't know why. You know what, let me eat this pie while I'm waiting. Just eat this pie. I'll just eat the pie. I made apple pie. Good Lord. That sucker was fire. I'm in trouble. So as I was saying, I think people underestimate how powerful hope is. That hope is literally what drives revolutions, and it's literally what drives change. I think it's so important for us to recognize that those moments, to sit back and be like, wow, I have accomplished this and this and this, or we as a collective have accomplished this and this and this. I think it's so important because you need that fuel. You need to take that feeling of relief and of gratitude and of optimism, hide it in your heart, so that in those moments when you're discouraged, when you think that the end is bleak, or that the world will never change, go back to that feeling and to those sensations and be like, wait a minute, there has to be light at the end of the tunnel, because I wouldn't have felt that if there wasn't. Knowing that there are better days ahead and that there are better versions of the world that we live in ahead. And here's the thing too, civilizations continue to evolve always. People always evolve. It's in our nature to evolve. Yes, it'll be discouraging sometimes, and we won't get the kinds of revolutions that we want at the exact moments that we want them. But every little step counts. And frankly, revolutions are rare. Usually large systemic change happens bit by bit, mandate by mandate, movement by movement. It's not like everything changes in this one combustible instant. These systems are too ingrained for that. Actually, like, to be real, to be just on the real, we're not gonna see the change we wanna see in our lifetime. We're not going to see it because it's buried too deep. It is too ingrained in every aspect of our lives, in the clothes we wear, in the food we eat, in the people we surround ourselves with, in economics. So, not to discourage anyone from making those changes or trying to make those changes, every bit counts. And we have to push so hard for a tiny change. That tiny change turns into another tiny change, which turns into another tiny change. And then before you know it, we've got this ball rolling. So these moments are important. And I think something that was really rewarding and cathartic for me to experience throughout this weekend was, first of all, rest. You can probably tell in my voice, my body isn't used to resting for that long. There's always going to be dissent. But it was so encouraging to see that there were people who wanted change as much as I did, as much as the communities that I'm a part of do. And, not only in America, but in several parts of the world, it was the symbolic, unanimous feeling, collective relief, joy, even if it wasn't excitement about, the system shifting dramatically, because it's not going to shift dramatically, I don't think, through this presidency, but just the moment of, there is hope for my children to grow up in a world that they don't have to walk in fear, that they can walk in power. And that's an amazing thing to leave behind. Yes, it's not for us. All the change that we're trying to make, it's not for us. It's for our children's children's children. Frankly, that's everything. I go back to a moment where Kamala was giving her speech, and I just was crying the whole time, and I didn't expect to, because again, Kamala wasn't my favorite candidate, and I was just crying. It was in that moment that I realized that my little cousins, my 5-year-old cousins, my 6-year-old, 7-year-old cousins, their interaction with politics, their first memorable interaction, will be growing up with a Black woman as a vice president. How crazy, how optics matter. They're not everything. Optics are not everything, but they matter. I don't know, that's something for sure.